let us talk about the current events surrounding September and October. Obviously, a lot of people have been talking about it, and there's a lot of fear, and there's also a lot of positivity. Now, we need to see what is actually happening. Now, let us first go into these texts and break that down, because there's someone on YouTube, obviously, who posted something up, and what he posted was quite interested about the things that will happen in September, but I don't believe there will be some kind of end date to the world that is out of the blue. That just doesn't make sense to me. But obviously there is something, maybe there's a little tweak, but I think personally it could be to do with the economy, to do with money and how, or it could be with, a new world government or some kind of something. But there is going to be a little something, to set up a new form of law. That's definitely what I believe personally. But it's also going to be to deal with time. Okay, so let me get into it straight away. So basically, he was stating something, right? Okay, and that was to do with Revelation 12. Now, I'm going to break this down astrologically so you can see. What he was saying, it was relation to October the 15th. This is to do with the stars as they appear on October the 15th. Here's what it says. A great sign appears in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. So obviously what he was talking about, most people will actually know and know where I'm coming from. He's talking about the sun being in Virgo. So obviously the symbol of Virgo, this is the symbol of Virgo. So the sun, obviously the symbol for the sun, obviously is this symbol here. The sun is actually in Virgo. So this is the month of Virgo right now. And actually, to begin with, I would like to say that the new moon was on the 13th of September. Okay, and the 13th of September represents transformation. Number 13 doesn't mean death or bad luck. It just means transformation. It just means, did you know that it's the 13th sperm that passes through, and that is the one that makes it? The other 12 doesn't make it through. So 13th is the transformation. This is why you come into light or into birth. So bear this in mind, because I'm going to touch upon a few other numbers that people may be scared of. Okay, so going back into this, the sun, it obviously is in Virgo at present, and in that text it says, a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet. So the moon is under her feet, so meaning that obviously the moon, the symbol for the moon is here. The moon was under her feet, and under her feet is in the sign of Libra. Okay, so bear this in mind, in the sign of Libra. Okay, all right. Now, a crown of 12 stars on her head, she was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. So, obviously, a crown of 12 stars on her head, meaning that she's, her head is hurting. Obviously, she's crying out, she's crying. So, I wanted to say that it could be linked to the whipping willow, which is obviously the woman crying, and Saturn is behind her. Right, it's a Masonic symbol that they have, and obviously she's crying. Obviously, a child is coming out. She's crying, and obviously Virgo represents time. Virgo also represents, when I mean time, I'm talking about place and time, place of time, because it's all about being analytical and manifesting in the right place, the position of time. Obviously, Saturn is the father of time, okay, but obviously Virgo is place of time, because they work together in essence if we actually observe mythology. Okay, so back to this now. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Now, these are events which are currently linked to October the 15th. If you were to check the astrological chart on that day, October the 15th, I'm going to put it up just now, you will notice that the sun is actually in Virgo, the moon is in Libra, and obviously the crown of her head. Now it states now that another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its head. Now they're talking about Mars. Okay, this could be linked to Mars in some ways and aspect, because Mars would have just moved into Leo, so that would actually create that effect, which will swing as a tail going into well, hitting the woman. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth, so that it might devour her child the moment he was born. She gave birth to a son, a male child, who will rule all the nations with an iron scepter. And her child was snatched up to God and to his throne. The woman fled into the wilderness to a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 1,260 days, which is actually equivalent to 40 months. And in Revelation 13, then they describe it. Now, what I would like to say in relations to this is obviously the child, it is obviously Horus, the Immaculate Conception. The child is going to be, the Horus, and obviously Virgo will represent Isis, right? So, or the Virgin Mary, or the Virgin, whichever, however you want to put it, it's the same thing. Remember, Pisces is the opposite sign of Virgo, right? Pisces represents the Christ, okay? The Christ, bear this in mind. Pisces represents the Christ figure, right? Or the Christ consciousness. And Virgo represents the obviously Isis, or the Virgin. And obviously now we see that there's a relationship between the two, okay? All right, so obviously giving birth is painful, and obviously the child coming out is the manifestation. So these are some links to the relationship to October the 15th. Now on on September the 17th, the sun had just moved into Virgo. I'm talking about the Vedic, or the stars as they appear. The sun had just moved into Virgo on the 17th. So the birth began then, right? We're talking about, on the astrological thing, what you reap what you sow. So whatever you was working towards early this year is now manifesting at this present point and time, okay? Now, okay, all right. What I wanted to just jump quickly to obviously still Revelation 12.14. Okay. Now, what I want to do, I'm going to tie this up to the relationship between Libra and Scorpio real quickly. Don't worry, I'll put this all in place so you know exactly where I'm coming from. First, on Revelation 13, we are talking about Libra. It says, when the dragon saw that he had been hurled to the earth, he pursued the woman who had given birth to the male child. Okay, so we're talking about Libra here. So the dragon is after the Libra child, the Christ figure, or whatever. The woman was given the 2 wings of great eagle so that she might fly to a place prepared for her in the wilderness, where she would be taken care of for time, half a time, out of the serpent's reach. Alright, so first what I was stating, the first thing that I was stating is to do with Libra. And this Libran energy is her warring with the dragon. She's warring with the dragon, so there's a war. So there, it's finding balance of harmony between the two. So they're warring. And then when I stated that obviously the woman was given 2 wings of great, well, the woman was given 2 wings of great eagle, 2 wings of great eagle, which is obviously her being swept by the scales, okay, so that she may fly to a place prepared for her in the wilderness. That is Saturn in Scorpio. Now check this out. Because the wilderness is somewhere that, you can't find yourself in the wilderness, so it's, where is this place? Where she would be taken care of for time, half a time. And time, and half a time is actually linked to Saturn. Saturn moves through each sign every 2.5 years. So metaphorically, they're talking about Saturn, time, and half a time. The dragon, the serpent, is linked to Saturn. How and why do I say that? As well, because Saturn is the symbol here. Remember, this represents matter. That's for the earth. That's not the symbol of Saturn, but it's part of the symbol of Saturn. And you know, when you look at astrology and symbols, you find that many symbols interlink. You know, just like if you put a circle on the top, you get Venus, and circle and then 2 horns, that becomes Mercury. Okay, so Saturn is this symbol here. That's the serpent, you know, the snake, kind of the snake version, and that's matter, so to do with the earth. Okay, so the serpent, Saturn. So it talking about here is actually linked to you know, where she would be taken care of for time after time, which is Saturn in Scorpio. Now I'm saying that Saturn at the moment is basically in Scorpio, and most people who follow Western astrology believe that Saturn has just moved to Sagittarius. Sometimes we have to cater for both, you know, to make people understand that it's only one science, but most people want to conjunct other science and say this is wrong. It's like you're just creating another religion again. It's all one science. You know, they divided and conquered the whole world, first with languages, and then through races, you know, so that no one gets the truth in the spiritual wisdom. So first and foremost, people need to strip that away. You know, languages, you know, there's so many languages that we don't know. We can't even interact with other people around the world and understand certain scriptures because we don't know languages. Like, we only know 1 or 2 language. So that's why it's very important to study language. It's supposed to be one language, but that's how they divide people, through language, and divide countries and divide people, and, you know, divide races. So once we get out of that, we can get to the truth. Okay, so back to what I was saying, to take care for time, half a time, again and again, is Scorpio, out of the serpent's reach. So obviously the serpent, Saturn in Scorpio, and Saturn in Scorpio represents government, right? Meaning that they're playing obviously with time. First, I would say that they're playing with time because Saturn is the god of time. They're playing with time, and they're also playing with a secret in time, because Scorpio represents the secrets. Okay, Scorpio represents the secrets. Okay, right? So because Scorpio represents the secrets, they're gonna play about with time, and to me it links to the 23rd of September. Okay, bear this in mind, 23rd of September. The 23rd of September, Mercury obviously is already retrograde, but I was speaking to Clyde, Galactic Clyde, and he was saying that obviously, which makes sense, the Mercury retrograde gets activated on Wednesday, and obviously Wednesday is linked to who? Mercury. And in French, because my first language is French, Wednesday is, in French, is mercredi. Mercury. It's the same thing. Every day of the week has a link to the planets. So the fact that Wednesday is Mercury, which also is obviously the retrograde, Mercury gets activated on that day. So now, okay, I'm going to shift off the biblical characters and the images, but there was one bit that I wanted to say, which then I'm going to tie into the point where I'm going to right now, which is linked to Wednesday. Okay, but let me just read this part. I can't remember exactly why, but I'm gonna read it anyways. Then from his mouth, the serpent spewed water like a river to overtake the woman and sweep her away with the torrent. But the earth helped the woman by opening its mouth and swallowing the river that the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. So obviously there's a war going on where the Virgin is warring with Scorpio. So the Sun in Virgo is warring with Saturn in Scorpio from the wilderness, and they're battling. And then the rivers, meaning linked to Scorpio, which is water, is kind of dealing with something. So I'm saying it could be that if the dates are correct. It could be that if the dates are correct, which is October the 15th. I'm talking about symbology here. It could be correct if the dates are specifically linked to this event, right? Because I know people are skeptically driving their mind crazy with different this will happen. Now, I'm going to link this to Wednesday now. Wednesday is a very powerful date. I say this because Wednesday is linked to Mercury, like we said earlier. And in my last video, I showed you that this is Mercury, and these are the antennas of Mercury. Mercury is the messenger. Mercury delivers information, right? Because Mercury delivers information, we're about to find out a lot of information that could be spread out. And, you know, people are confused, and it's all about spreading confusion. So me, myself, I am spreading confusion, right? Because I am skeptically talking about things, or not even skeptically, but just pinpointing and saying things just like you would and other people would about these dates. And it's interesting because it is interesting. So obviously Mercury is retrograde, and obviously it's in where is it? It's in Virgo and Libra. Let's say it's in Virgo because it actually is in Virgo, in reality. But most people would say it's in Libra, and it's to do with obviously Obama and the Pope, which is a specific date. Now on that day, right? On that day. Okay, bear this in mind, hold this in mind, Mercury. On that day, Saturn will be 6 degrees, okay? In astrology, planets move in degrees, right? Because everything is about angles and relationships. This is why in mathematics, it was very important to learn angles. That's probably one of the best mathematical equation that was given to us. Most people don't know about that. This is one of the major ones. Okay, so the sun will also be 6 degrees, okay? And then the moon will also be 6 degrees, okay? So there'll be a 666 alignment. I did say I was going to get into the numerology of it. Now, obviously, a lot of people are scared of this number, 666. It's not a bad number. It just means man. It means man. Man. Most people know this already. But for the people that don't know, this is what it means. It means the manifestation of man. Proton, neutrons, and electron. Right? Proton, neutron, and electron is the symbol of man. And this is how man manifests or becomes or manifests itself. Okay, so on that day, obviously, these are the alignments, and that is around, okay, around what time? Around 6 to 7 p.m. Okay, this is where the planetary alignment occurs. Okay, now on that day, they're also going to raise the frequency for CERN. What is CERN? People said to me or asked me, what is CERN? CERN is the HLC collider. Some people know of. Some people may have heard of it. They first started beaming it in 2010. Okay, Now, these same people are linked, or from my understanding, right? Okay, I'm not creating a conspiracy theory here, but from my understanding, they they could be linked to the Mantoc and the Philadelphia experiment. Now, that deals with, again, this symbol here, which is Saturn. Why? Because during the Philadelphia experiment, what did they do? See the lid drop. They messed about with time. And obviously, they went back in time and they went forward in time to alter certain things to see what would happen in the future. So now, with CERN, CERN is to do with the HLC collider, which is to do with creating a black hole, right? Creating a black hole. So creating a black hole opens up dimensions, and if you're messing around with dimensions, you're messing around with energies, and you're altering energies and grids. That means that you could either bring things into this dimension or take things out of this dimension. Okay, so the time could be altered because of that, but not something to be feared of. The energy is shifting. I can feel the energy shifting at present. I can feel there's an energy shifting. Synchronicity has risen to an extreme, and I do feel people are quite on the edge. I've noticed certain energies of how people are behaving recently as people. One of the keys to this time is about meditation and connecting with yourself, which you should have been doing for time anyways, because it's one of the things that, connecting with yourself is very important anyways. So obviously, but when we link this up now, we find out that the relationship between these planetary energies and CERN is actually when they beam it. So if they're beaming it on that day, then it means that they're playing about with the black hole, because these numbers interlinked with manifestation or bringing birth something. So whatever they're bringing birth to, that is what they're bringing birth to. But we don't know specifically what it is they're bringing or trying to bring birth to. Now, on that day, Obama and the Pope meet, and I believe strongly that this whole relationship is to do with the economy, because where they're meeting, both of them, they're meeting in where? In Washington, D.C. And Washington, D.C. is governed by Virgo, the sun in Virgo again. So it's governed by by Virgo. Every state or every place in the world is ruled by a sign, right? And this is where it's governed by. So obviously they're going to make it major news or some kind of news around 6 or 7 p.m. or some kind of in the morning or whatever time that they choose to make it, because obviously it's to do with Virgo and they're playing with the astrological relationship with time. Mercury retrograde meaning to go back in time again, all right, to analyze things again, to see something again, to create confusion. So it could be a confusion of time or confusion of something, but I doubt it will be time. I think it will be more to do with economy, money, and how the state operates with the system, a new kind of government, a new kind of energy coming in, a new something. Something anyways, because Saturn is transformation, hidden secrets, hidden information, hidden energies, hidden forces. These are all to do with Saturn in Scorpio. The sun obviously bringing birth to something, bringing light to something new, conjuncting a new form of birth or energy. This is here what you got. The moon reacts. On that day it reacts, it creates a reaction. So what it is, the public is going to react in a particular way. So it's a very powerful day, I think, personally. And lining up to the eclipse, the eclipse that kicked off early this year is now manifesting and bringing its energy into this following Virgo eclipse, which is going to manifest. Now, on the spiritual aspect, away from this, we can work on cleansing the stomach, cleansing the intestines, cleansing parts of the body, because Virgo, obviously, as we know, is governed by the intestines. The symbol of Virgo, if you turn it round, it represents the intestines. So let me show you. I don't know if I'll be able to do it correctly, but it's the intestines, the stomach, the way the intestines move across and bend across. This is how the intestine is. So that is in the body. It represents the part of the body. And obviously this links to how your body interacts with it. So it's important to cleanse it, because wherever the sun is, where the energy is focused. So it's a good time to cleanse the stomach. So fasting, purifying, the thoughts as well, because Virgo is governed by who? Mercury. Again, it's an interesting one because it's an earth sign, but it's governed by an air planet. Yeah, so it gets things moving. That's why as well, because it's the moving earth. Okay, so basically, yeah. So cleansing the stomach on earth, cleansing your physical body is a powerful time. Cleansing your mind, meditation. Mercury governs what? The mind. Meditation. Mercury also governs the Buddha in esoteric astrology, right? So we're working with an energy here. So it's a great time to begin cleansing. So by the time Saturn comes on Saturday, you then get the formula to move forward. Because time, again, you get the formula. So the formula is the eclipse. You get it? The formula is the eclipse, and the eclipse is the manifestation of energies coming in to you, you know, which will be obviously Sun in Virgo. So yeah, so I think that people overlay things on what it is. You know, it's obviously there's many things that they play about with, because obviously September is obviously a time of fear, because people create a reaction because of what happened on September a few years ago. And also I also believe that yeah, there's a lot of confusion with that. Okay, so September 11th is actually the new year of the Ethiopians new year. So that's linked again to why they chose that day. And obviously there was no planes that hit. It was just obviously optical illusion. So, you know, like what they plan to do in the future, obviously, like, you know, whatever you people want to put out there, it could be a possibility, is create some kind of optical illusion to bring across like a fake Christ image. I don't think that it'll be any time now, but I don't know. Used to say whatever in it doesn't really matter, but they'll project out some kind of thing and make people believe things, and you know, they can alter your reality and make you believe that things are touching you and stuff, and then create images which link to things touching you, and they have all this type of technology in essence. But yeah, so basically the mystery schools and stuff, they veil all their science in religion, and religion is how you veil the secrets. And obviously they projected or put out religion to do that, because so then they could keep hold of the information and keep controlling the masses, us. So the Aquarian age, the golden age, is actually us coming back into light and coming and getting this information and replacing all the old stuff. But we have to keep researching and keep understanding and learning. And I wanted to say that finally, fast, meditate, and strengthen your mind, because it's all about that on the collective level. I haven't done the astrology videos that was supposed to be talking about Gemini and all the other ones in the different ages, because I haven't had the time. I will be doing them, so please keep involved and subscribe to me. And one last thing, yeah, go on my website and get a few bits and bobs whenever you have the time, because you got some good shit that will help you out here, especially in this confusing world that we live in. You know, everything is perfect, but we just confuse things. Okay, thank you for watching, and have a great September and October event.